What it do? How's crew? Um, Starting off, we're gonna start off with this fight card, man. It was awesome, bro. Like all the fights were. I mean, not all the fights, but most of the fights. It started off pretty iffy. There was some bit of a lot of stinkers, but there were really good fights. A lot of good finishes. Man, the main event was practically one of the best main events I've seen this year. I mean, holy hell, they delivered in this fight. Like all of them delivered, and I mean, we'll just start off with the first fight. I mean, Daniil Jonchenko delivers a easy, not easy, kind of easy. Round one KO. Senzano comes in. He's able to apply some pressure. Donchenko's kind of weathering a storm here. And Donchenko makes this very sneaky but genius adjustment where he starts using elbows. It cuts Senzanato open. It turns the tides. And Jonchenko is able to weather the storm and get into his momentum. And he gets a round one KO. I mean, I'm really looking forward to Donchenko. I think he was one of my favorite um, fighters from the Ultimate Fighter, man. And he was so fun to watch too. Every single one of his fights were so fun to watch. So I'm really hyped to see how he's gonna do in the welterweight division. I do think he's really talented. I think he's really strong. He's a good finisher. I'm hyped to see it. Next, what I like to call a stinker, the Rendon versus Pereira fight. Pereira did not perform as good as she usually does, and I think it's because of the jitters, the UFC jitters. Going up against a person who's a good grappler. I think Pereira, she's young. She's 19 years old, and she had a good fight, but it was a very boring fight, and honestly, Rendon did win that. She was the one pressuring. Pereira was kind of picking at range, and, for some fighters, it does work, and it does win them fights, but for other fighters, it doesn't, and Alice Pereira is one of those fighters it doesn't work for. And Rendon, she came in. I didn't think any of these two people actually delivered good fights. I thought it was a pretty shit fight. I don't really have anything else to say about this, so props for Rendon for utilizing the grappling, the pressure. Next, what we like to call a big upset. There were a lot of big upsets on this card, but Alan Correa beats Alessandro Costa. A lot of people, including me, thought that Alessandro Costa was going to style on this kid, was going to dominate him. He's a very well-tested vet and who has gone against really good people, but Alan Correa came out there and dominated. Costa had some moments, but Correa came out there, he controlled him on the ground, and was able to get a round 3 KO at the last minute of the fight, man. And I think Costa got injured. He had a toe injury, and he was very bothered by it. And I think Correa just saw that and just used that as his opportunity. I'm really happy about Correa getting a win over Costa this dominantly is very impressive. And he's young. He's a very young guy, and I do think that he will have a lot of potential going into this flyweight division. But it is a very stacked division, so I am really interested to see how he goes up against the other guys. Next, for the next fight, it was a no contest. Cedricus Dumas. That's not how you say his name. It's Cedric Dumas. Is my thing gonna fucking work? Okay, yeah, this fight was, it couldn't continue. Zachary Reese, they both exchange at range. Dumas working around, and then he gets hit with a very nasty cup kick. Can't move. Fight's not continued. No contest. I don't really have anything else to say about this. I don't think they should rerun this fight. I don't care, honestly, so, yeah, whatever. Next, Jesus Aguilar versus Luis Gurul. It was a very even matchup. Both of these guys, they had good moments. Aguilar, he was losing the second round, but he was able to turn shit back up. In the third, he was able to turn it back up, and get a really impressive knockdown. And because of that, I wouldn't say it's a knockdown, but he was able to land the most damaging shots in round 3. He won round 1, clearly. He won, and I think this is a good win. Luis Gurul, he was a pretty good fighter. He was undefeated until he fought Ode Osborne. And, it was a good war. It was a good back and forth. It wasn't the best fight out of the card, but it was a good fight. Next, Tatiana Suarez pretty much dominates Amanda Lemos until... Oh my god, this fucking UFC thing. This website is so ass. I don't know what the fuck is up with this. It's fucking. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm raging. But yeah, Tatiana Suarez, she delivers a pretty dominant performance. Lemos does not have any takedown defense. She doesn't have any grappling defense, but she was able to get things close. You know, she had the ninja choke at the end of round 2 that was pretty tight. She wobbles Suarez and almost finishes her in round 3. And yeah, it was a 29-28 decision. That makes sense. I think Lemos won the third round. And I did say Lemos was going to win by decision. I changed it to Suarez by submission, but honestly, I should have just changed the fighter, not the method. Next, well, I like to call it the biggest fumble on the fight. There is some fumbles on this fight, and I don't think it's the biggest fumble, but this is the second biggest fumble. Puelas versus Silva. Puelas was winning this fight based on the grappling dominance he had, but one mistake, because it was 1-1 before the third round, and he was winning most of the third round, but one mistake. He gets caught by Silva, dropped, and Silva gets top control and just beats him, and damage is over grappling. You know, damage is over grappling. So, I mean, you know, he was on his way to winning that fight, and he did not win the fight. It was a split decision. I thought it was a unanimous decision. It was pretty clear round 3 was for Silva. And Claudio Perales needs to improve the striking, man, because it looks very trash. And Silva, that's a good win against Puelas. Puelas is a dangerous grappler, so yeah. Next, we got Dusko Todorovic. He gets a round 1 submission against Jose Daniel Medina. I'm gonna be real. I don't know how Jose Medina was still in the UFC. I don't think he will be in the UFC after this fight, but if he is, I'll be even more shocked. Dusko Todorovic proves he is not that mid. You know, this is a very, very low level fight. Jose Medina is not good at all. And Dusko Todorovic, he looked a lot better, but it was against Jose Medina. So, I don't know. I don't have much to scream at home about this fight. So, I'm going to move on to the main card. Talk about a comeback. Get this fucker off my screen, bro. Oh, my God. That's a problem. It keeps moving around everywhere. Man. Bro. Move. Fuck. Dumbass fucking website. Anyways, Santiago Luna gets an impressive comeback victory against Kwang Lee. He gets wobbled in the first, and a commentator's like, oh yeah, this is the UFC. The UFC's different level, and then Luna just locks in and just KOs the fuck out of Kwang Lee. On short notice, too. That was pretty impressive. Santiago Luna is a very good prospect. I look forward to seeing what he does in the UFC. He's very young, and I do think he does need more time developing himself, getting used to his power, being able to fight these type of guys. But KOing Kwang Lee in the first round is not that bad. It's not that bad. So it's a very good one. It's a very good fight. Next, we got another upset. Alexander Hernandez beats Diego Ferreira in the second round. Diego Ferreira was doing really well. He was doing really well in the first round, you know, pressuring Alexander Hernandez, and he was doing really well in the second round. And then I think Alexander Hernandez was looking for that right counter. He was looking for that counter, and he gets it. Diego Ferreira is very sloppy on the feet. He kind of tends to overextend with his strikes. He isn't as clean, as tight, as precise, and because he kind of knows, you know, he knows. He knows he has that power. He kind of goes with it. And I think Alexander Hernandez was able to figure him out and land that counter right that drops him and finishes him. Very late. It was a late stoppage too. So, in my opinion, this is a very good performance. I'd really love to see Hernandez fight Chandler. I would really love to see that fight. I mean, that's a really good fight. I don't like Chandler. I hope Alexander Hernandez beats him. But that'd be a really good fight for maybe MSG. UFC 322, or maybe in December in UFC 323. That'd be a really good fight if he wants to fight later this year. So I'm really hyped about that fight. Next, we got Kevin Gastelum wins a decision against Dustin Stoltzfus. Very dominant performance by Kevin Gastelum. Dustin Stoltzfus had his moments, but Kevin Gastelum was landing the better shots. He was wobbling Dustin, hurting him bad. It was a clinic on his face, man. And Dustin Stoltzfus was able to have some good moments on the ground, but Kevin Gastelum was able to survive them all. And, you know, missing weight, it's not a good look, and I don't know what's next for him. You know, I don't think he's going to get cut, but he needs to work on the fucking diet if he wants to stay in the UFC, or at least, like, move up a division, man. So, yeah, Kevin Gastelum, he's the shortest middleweight of all time, and he really needs to put down the fork. That's all. Next, we got Rafa Garcia versus Jared Gordon. I think this was another upset. Yeah, man, there was a lot of upsets on this card, and this was one of them. Jared Gordon, apparently he was in a car crash like a few days before this fight. He tore his knee, and it definitely showed in his movement, and he definitely looked like his head movement wasn't there that much. And Jared Gordon was able to win maybe the first two rounds. I think that Jared Gordon was winning the first two rounds, and then third round, I think he just kind of started to slow down, and Rafa Garcia was able to pick up the momentum and KO Jared Gordon. And it sucks. This is 9/11 for hardcore fans, bro. But there's a lot of 9/11s on this card, and I'm a real Rafa Garcia is very good. This is a very impressive win against Jared Gordon, and I think this is gonna put him close. Maybe one more fight until he gets into the ranked level. If he gets a really impressive fight, really good impressive performance in his next fight, he could be very well ranked. Because Jared Gordon is pretty close to ranked level, so that's a good impressive fight. Next, we got another huge upset. David Martinez is now in the top 10 of the UFC. He beats Rob Font. Rob Font just did not look like himself. I think he was very wary of the power. And because of that, I think David Martinez was able to take control. He was able to land some good shots at Rob Font. And I think Rob Font was then able to establish the jab because David Martinez was moving around a lot. And, being a doctor is the best base for MMA, man. I'm telling you, Dr. House MMA, I'm trying to be a doctor. David Martinez is a doctor, bro. Maybe I need to start my own title run. Maybe I need to make my own run in the UFC. But being a doctor is the best base for MMA. So, yeah, man. Shi Ming, David Martinez now in the top 10, bro. In the top 10. It's very impressive. Now, he did get rushed up there. In the top 10, it's going to be full of beasts. And I don't know how David Martinez will handle that. Maybe David Martinez will be able to show that he really is a top 10 level guy. But for now, I am worried about David Martinez's future because he is top 10. He will be fighting ranked contenders, and that is he already fought a ranked contender on short notice, but it's Rob Font. There's going to be other guys that are much more dangerous. So, I don't know. David Martinez gets an impressive win against Rob Font. I don't know, maybe some other matchup. I don't know who he should fight, to be honest. But in my opinion, I think Rob Font should fight Vinicius Oliveira next. I think that's a very obvious fight to make. For David Martinez, I don't really know. I really don't know. I know Figueiredo's fighting Montel Jackson. I'd like to see David Martinez maybe fight. I want to say he deserves a top, like up more higher ranked opponent yet. I don't think so. I'd like to see David Martinez maybe fight maybe a prospect, an unranked guy. But for now, I don't really know exactly. But for Rob Font, I think Rob Font versus Vinicius Oliveira is the next fight to make. Next, we got Diego Lopez versus Gene Silva. Man, this was something. This was a good fight. And Diego Lopez, he was dominating in the first round. Gene Silva, he just messes up a wheel kick. He gets taken down. He gets elbowed in the head. And that changed the momentum of the fight where we started to see Gene Silva face some adversity for once. He wasn't fighting a Bryce Mitchell who was scared, He was fighting Diego Lopez who isn't scared, who was able to pressure Gene Silva. But in the second round, he rebounds. He's able to piece up Diego Lopez. He hits him a lot of times. But Diego Lopez has a chin of steel. Holy hell, this guy can take damage. And I thought this was going to be the fight where Diego Lopez can rely on his chin. But he did. He relied on his chin. And he timed a perfect spinning elbow on Gene Silva and just sleeps him. And then Gene Silva tries to get back up. I thought it was an early stoppage, but honestly, looking back at how much that elbow damaged him, I think that was the good stoppage. And I don't think this is some fraud check. I think Gene Silva did really well against Diego Lopez. I think he was on his way to beating Diego Lopez before he started to be overconfident and he started to, do these spinning elbows, all this, like kind of playing around. And you just don't do that against Diego Lopez, who is pretty dangerous himself. And I think, in my opinion, this isn't a fraud check. This is going to be a learning lesson for Gene Silva. Like Prates too, Prates, he fought the top competition. And he saw like Ian Gary, Ian Gary dominates Prates, and now he comes back with a really, really dominant win against Jeff Neal, who is a dangerous contender, who was higher ranked than him. I think Gene Silva is going to take this as a learning lesson, you know? And I don't think it's over. I think the elbow's going to take some time to heal, that's for sure. But Diego Lopez, man, he impressed me. He impressed me. I thought this was going to be a bad fight for him. And it was a bad fight for him in the second round. But he was able to rebound and get back with that spinning elbow. And because of that, I honestly, you know what? Lerone Murphy is going to be fighting for the title next. That is pretty obvious. I'd really love to see a Diego Lopez versus Mosvar rematch. Like a 5 round Diego Lopez versus Mosvar rematch. That is the best fight to make. And both of these guys, they need one more for the title shot. And if Diego Lopez beats a guy like Mosvar, that he could very well get a rematch. And now Volkanovski's win over Diego Lopez is aging very, very well. And Mosvar, he has a chance to, shut down the rumors. Oh, it was a close fight last time. It was very close. And he has a very good chance of shutting down those rumors and showing that, hey, I'm better than Diego Lopez. And Diego Lopez has a chance to avenge himself. He lost to Mosvar. It shut down his dreams for a while. That was a very important fight for him. And now he's able to get that back. That is a huge fight to make. And it should be a fight night main event, 5 rounds, easily. If not, maybe a co-main for 5 rounds, in a pay-per-view. That'd be a huge fight night. That'd be a huge fight, bro. For Gene Silva, I don't think it's over for him. I think he should fight someone like Arnold Allen. That is a very good fight. Arnold Allen, he's very inactive, and I think Gene Silva he's still dangerous. I think he did good against Diego Lopez. This wasn't some shutout Diego Lopez performance. It was very back and forth, and Diego Lopez just landed the bet. It was his night. He landed the best shot. He landed the shot that downed Silva. And I think this is going to be a good learning lessons for Silva. I'd like to see him fight Arnold Allen. That'd be a really good fight. I felt like that was the fight that should have been made, but Yair Rodriguez is ducking Diego Lopez bad. And because of that, it's like I just can't seem to, I just can't seem to really see it. I don't see it. I just don't see it. I don't see Yair Rodriguez beating Diego Lopez, and I think he knows that too. He's been ducking, and that should have been the fight for Noche. I don't know why the hell Yair is getting away with this shit. That should have been the fight for Noche. Now, I'm not complaining about Lopez versus Silva. It was still a very good fight. But man, how big Lopez versus Yair Rodriguez would have been. It'd been nice. And we could have seen Gene Silva versus Arnold Allen, which I thought would have been the best step up for Gene Silva, honestly. But, yeah, for Gene Silva, it should be Arnold Allen next. I think he deserves that. Diego Lopez, Mosvar rematch. So, yeah, I'm going to go with that. Anyways, I will see you in the next one. I don't have much words. I need to watch the Canelo fight. Bye.